also headed very often by people who went to business school. They have to be, I guess they have to be supported in the notion that you might fail once, but eventually you'll succeed. Because a risk aversion is, none of us want to take foolish chances. But there are such things as foolish chances, and there are other things as investments, mental investments in the future. And that I think is something that has to be educated. I think people have been educated away from that. Again, this is very culturally determined. So what happens here in Japan is not the same as what happens in the United States. I guess I'm talking more about American managers. In Japan, the risk aversion is deep, 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 very deep. It was not so evident 50 years ago because Japanese companies had a long-term strategy. And a long-term strategy is what you need to overcome the risk aversion. Because if you know the direction you should be going in, then little blips are not going to frighten you. I guess that may be one of the answers, is to create long-term strategies and stick to them. Thank you. Anything else?
I mean,
yeah.
It's really a comment. Right at the beginning, you mentioned that people like in the post office and government agencies are not so active. But especially in the U.S., from what I hear, I think the post office is almost at the end.
Oh, there's no business. Nobody's mailing anything, or they're not mailing enough. Well, what happens with many organizations is they grow ahead of the demand. And then when the wave recedes, that's what happened with the post office. The wave receded. By the way, the Japanese post office is in trouble for that reason too. It's just that things here are structured differently. Because there's not enough business in the post office here either. People are not mailing as much as they used to.
I mean, people say like,
And there's competition. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's competition from the private.
Yeah, that's what.
Delivery.
Because like Amazon, for example, sends a lot of packets, but they maybe don't go so much with the.
Yeah. I mean, the post office. I mean, it depends. Everybody's very price sensitive, so. I mean, there are a lot of things, this is not the first time in history this has happened. In 1930, or even maybe it started in 29, sound came to the movies. Within 1 year in the United States, 100,000 musicians who used to play in the pit orchestras for silent films lost their jobs. Like that. And this is where technology, of course, creates obsolescence. I mean, we all know the poor people who used to create presentations with their, slide, their expensive cameras and equipment. PowerPoint put them out of business. So it happens. It's just that what are we going to do this time? Because it seems to be a global problem. And we're not out of the woods. The banks are in bad trouble. Let's hope they survive. All of us. So I'll drink to that. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Just a comment. I've been in hearing for.
I'm sorry, I've been neglecting.
Thanks. It works, yes. I've been in Japan for 35 years, and in my career I've interviewed a lot of young people, as trainees and trainees from universities. And I'm very surprised to see that the mentality has changed a lot. I don't speak only of Japanese, but French, because I'm French, but also American, English, German. Really, let's say 20 years ago, you had still, among the discussion we had with these people, they really wanted to do something. They had still a creative spirit.
Yes.
Okay, I work with you, I can do this and do that. Now, all I've seen, let's say, how much is the salary, what you have to do. Really, I think we should go back in the teaching or in the evolution of the mind of people and tell them, well, you should try to do something, you should try to drive and to have something more by yourself rather than getting in a big company. And how to do that, I don't know. But one thing I can tell you, the French government a few years ago has set up special finance programs for those who would set up their own company,
Mhm.
their own